Welcome to Love in a Podcast. I'm Nathaniel, and right in front of me is my beautiful partner and co-host.
Thank you. I'm Shiloh. Nice to be back. So for the third episode, we are going to discuss balance. Balance for yourself and in a relationship. But for a little backstory, this episode was written in April of 2020. And the reason why is because we started the podcast then, believe it or not. And we had just started being together 24/7 for the first time in our relationship because I was here for quarantine. And I was finding myself grasping and searching for my own balance and to create balance within our relationship. So it was interesting then, and it's still interesting now to me. 8 months later, it is December 29th. It's the last full moon of 2020. And it's our last episode of 2020. So there's some significance here. I did change a couple of things, edited a lot of it, but not to the point where it's changed completely from the first draft. So just a little idea of where this is coming from and where we would like it to go. We would like to just share the experiences that we've had and possibly inspire someone to find their own balance and create balance in their relationships. Because honestly, at the end of the day, I want everyone to be A-okay. I know it's impossible, but you know, it's hard to have a relationship. Sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of advice. So I have done some research. And I've written from the heart. So for this episode, we will discuss 3 things we did at the beginning of our relationship to find some balance. Now, mind you, there are way more than 3 things that we do now, and I'm probably missing some things that we did at the beginning, but it's fine. I mean, I wasn't exactly taking notes on everything that we were doing at the beginning, just in case we have a podcast one day and I need to share all this stuff, so just, know that there's probably plenty I'm missing. And then after that, we'll cover 7 ways to create balance with you and your partner. But before we get into that juicy info, let's play a question-answer game. So ask yourself, what is balance for you? What does it mean for you? How do you know you're balanced? How do you know your relationship is balanced? And as a Libra, as is Nathaniel, the horoscope people all agree that as a Libra, my forte in life is balance, or our forte in life is balance. And you might want to know, how the hell did that come out? And where is that coming from? It's because our sign is represented by the only inanimate object in the entire horoscope family, and it is a scale. So balance.
And I am so far from that.
What do you mean? That's not true. That's not true at all.
I am so off balance.
That's not true at all. Sometimes, but so am I. Damn it. Yeah. And I'm not an expert at creating balance in anyone's life besides my own. Sometimes I'm very far from being an expert in my own life and balancing my own shit. But it's safe to say that unbalanced individuals or relationships are kind of obvious to me. And again, I am not better or more balanced or zen or any of that shit than anyone else. I just see things. I observe. And what else is obvious to me is seeing that unbalanced relationships consist of usually unbalanced folks.
Well, I mean, and usually to be able to see that, to witness unbalanced, means that you were at some point in an unbalanced situation, whether it was yourself or your relationship.
Yep. So you recognize something that you've experienced yourself. So being unbalanced, just, guys, being unbalanced does not make you a bad person whatsoever. Don't think of it as a negative. Just think of it as, it is what it is. How do you want to keep it that way? Or if you want to change it, then you have the power to do that. So do me a favor right now and close your eyes for a second. Please don't close your eyes if you're driving or carrying a baby or anything like that. Now, as your eyes are closed, I want you to imagine yourself walking on shaky ground, Perhaps it's covered in potholes or maybe pricker bushes, or maybe it's covered in ice, and you're in heels. Yes, guys, you're in heels too.
I look great in heels.
You really do, those huge feet. So you're in heels after drinking a bottle of wine. You might go down a couple times. You might sidestep and tango to stay upright, moving around a lot. Now imagine you have a person attached to you that's extra weight, more opinions on how to sidestep, more opinions on how to walk straight. If you trip or slip, they go down with you. Bam. So that kind of sounds like a shitty thing for everybody. Now you can open your eyes. Finding personal balance is so key to creating balanced relationships. I said that before, and I know it sounds like a duh statement. It's not like, I never thought of that before. This search of balance can last your entire life on this planet. So without a doubt, it'll evolve and change as you do. And we are supposed to grow. That will create less or more balance. It's always going up and down and back and forth.
It's just like when, you see the tightrope walkers and they're balancing just like that. I mean, It's exactly the same thing.
Or if you're walking in heels on ice and you're 3 sheets to the wind, same thing. So in being in tune with yourself, listening to your reasonable self and your creative heart, that will keep your shit straight, even when you're sidestepping. So to begin, I will quote from a December 2000 article by Sydney Pierucci. I called her. That's how you pronounce it.
Of course.
She says, don't expect one person to always understand you, agree with you, support you, and be available to do things with you. No relationship can bear that kind of pressure. Right. I agree with that. That's why I put it in here. First things first, we're going to dive into the 3 things that served us at the beginning. Please know that we are learning to manage expectations. Expectations can be the root of resentment. So when I say I'm managing expectations, I really mean let's just edit that and probably take it out of the equation, because that'll create a lot of disappointment.
For sure.
In every individual, every situation, and every relationship is very different. Nathaniel and I are in constant state of learning about one another. We are growing and changing, therefore the lessons never stop. And trust me, I know how exhausting it can be, but you will know if it's worth it. Trust your instincts and keep fighting for it. So the first step in finding more balance is to assume you know nothing. People will never be what you want them to be in our fantasies, or what we thought they were when we first met. They might not even be the person who you thought they were yesterday. And that's what makes people so beautiful. I know it sounds very untidy and sometimes unbeautiful, but appreciating the unknown instead of trying to control it, that can make you so miserable. It can make everyone in the relationship miserable. If there's 2, 7, 48 people in the relationship, when you're trying to control the unknown, it just creates a lot of chaos. So, and you're thinking, yes, of course, this is more difficult some days than others. But I've learned that simply enough that self-awareness, which like me knowing that I can be impatient with sharing feelings and with miscommunication, having the self-awareness allows me to literally step back and digest what's happening instead of blowing up or holding things in. And know that I'm always working on myself. I am a work in progress. And I mean, it's kind of great to think of, yourself as your biggest and most important project. Instead of saying, I have so much work to do on myself, just think I get to work on myself. I get to work and adjust things, But there are so many situations and topics to discuss with each other, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, you can pick apart anything until you're blue in the face. You can repeat yourself over and over again, and every single time it can come out differently. But life is but a dream, so don't make it a nightmare. Yes. So number 2, we were practicing trust. So trust always until you don't, because if you're like me, then trust should not necessarily be earned, which means everyone is innocent until proven guilty, which also means leave the baggage at the door. Whatever you think you've learned about relationships or human nature from past relationships can be very unfair to apply to someone new. Agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Let your partner's actions and words speak for themselves. Damn it. Even if you understand what they do, don't make the mistake of assuming you know why they do it just because you have experienced something similar with someone else. That might feel like in the realm of empathy, but it's really more like projecting. I used to really struggle with boundaries, really, really, really bad. And I can't lie, I still do.
I mean, we've talked about this before. Boundaries weren't anything for me. Like, I didn't understand it.
Yeah, boundaries were just in sports.
Yeah.
Don't go out of boundaries. I was in a relationship where there was very minimal trust. There was a lot of controlling and physical and mental abuse. So I lost faith that what could be concerned behavior was isolating and controlling me. And at the beginning, what Nathaniel would call reasonable expectations, let's say, they weren't reasonable to me at the time. Back then I felt controlled and I felt untrusted and basically I couldn't even breathe. So much drama unnecessarily, but I had to work through it, and we did. After sharing my past with him and sharing my experience and the depth of pain I once felt, he understood more and more why I reacted the way I did. He learned to understand the why because we took the time without judging each other, which is hard, or judging ourselves, which is very hard.
Well, the other side of it too is that I was, kind of coming to terms with my mental illness and being able to differentiate, what was paranoia, what was reasonable, and what,
And I didn't know that back then.
Yeah. I mean, you knew I had bipolar disorder, but you
didn't know the realm and what it meant.
And I didn't know either. That's the worst part.
Yeah. This was the learning. First relationship that he was in.
That I've put effort into, that I really diagnosed. Care. Right. Like, I mean, I was completely, just off balance I destroyed every relationship I've ever had. And trust me, I didn't know it was my fault until not long ago.
Yeah.
So all these poor individuals, but
they stayed. I mean, let's not get into that. They stayed, and
listen to Love and a Bipolar Disorder or Bipolar Partner, and you'll learn exactly what we're talking about.
Episode 1. Yep. So to be honest, I didn't even know that I had these issues. So, I mean, the whole thing helped me immensely too. If you want to understand someone's thinking or motivation, just ask them. I mean, in a relationship, there are plenty of questions floating around. Just add one to the pile and ask your significant other. But if you don't like what someone does, don't jump to conclusions and assume they were motivated by malicious intent. It could be as simple as miscommunication. Perhaps their intentions were good. So ask, listen, and try to understand where they're coming from. If you don't like their answer, it's too bad. Too bad. Tough noogies, you asked. And if he's telling you the truth or not, you just have to trust it until you don't.
What are noogies?
Noogies, remember when you would get grabbed in a headlock and
oh, you meant literal noogies.
Yeah, tough noogies.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's the worst place you could possibly be, under somebody's sweaty armpit, especially like a huge person that just doesn't take care of their hygiene.
That's how
your hair rubbed off by a fist. That's how
our friend Noom ripped my earring out by giving me a noogie.
That's right. Yeah. So tough noogies, you should get that more than anyone. Thanks a lot, Noom.
Yeah, Noom.
Coming into the...
Yeah.
The third and last thing that we were doing at the beginning, which is pretty easy, is to encourage each other. It's very important in our day-to-day balance and encouraging and supporting each other. It is the foundation of any good and lasting relationship, which is in part achieved by helping each other grow. So be actively interested in your person's goals and ambitions, even if that subject or activity isn't your personal favorite or cup of tea.
Even in the realm of understanding sometimes, but that's one of those things where you have to find balance and start to at least give it a little bit of attention.
Right.
Learn about it, understand it. You don't have to be a pro at it. Like I will never be able to be a yoga teacher unless, of course, I put in all the work that you did,
So yeah, you could be, very much so. But you know, whatever they are into, you have to show interest. I mean, it's just being totally selfish and unreasonable not to. And you know, you should care about that because you care about them. So you see how that works? It's all tied in together. Oftentimes your partner needs you to observe their personal growth and recognize their achievement or qualities. They need to hear that feedback. You know, we're people. We got to hear that from someone we love. So from telling your loved one how great they look on the way out the door or to someplace out to dinner, to showing your admiration for their results at work, a well thought out and honest compliment every day can make wonders in your relationship.
Even just the most random, like you know, like I do.
Your toenails look really rounded. I love how much time you spent on them.
I meant more specifically, like, you know, you like how incredibly beautiful you are, and you know,
you're gonna make me blush.
But that's,
thank you.
Yeah, and your toenails too.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not showing you guys. Oftentimes, you think you're doing it enough, but frequently express your respect and admiration for their talents or skills and make sure they know you want for them what they want for themselves. Constructive criticism is always allowed, I think, but try to inspire instead of judge. Really check yourself at the door with that one. Encourage each other as individuals as well as in the relationship. So our own passions are different. But you'd never know it because now we're passionate about what the other is. There's two ways that we make money with our hobbies, teaching yoga and photography. He comes to classes I'm instructing as well as other classes to practice with me. Plus, last year, he went to Kripalu with me for Valentine's weekend. It was so amazing.
Second time I ever did yoga.
It was at Kripalu. And if you don't know what Kripalu is, look it up. It's the epicenter. It's the mecca for yoga in the United States and in the world, I think. That's what I read anyways. But yeah, he went there. I can't believe it was almost a year ago, but he went there with me and, you know, it wasn't cheap and he had to drive a long, long ways. And he only had a certain amount of time off from work. Like all of these things, you guys, made everything just, you know, blow up in my mind. And I realized that he's not going anywhere. And I realized that this was extremely special because he showed so much interest in my passion and he made it happen. I couldn't say enough about it. But he also supports me in furthering my education and training as I go to Rishikesh, India, which I secured a spot in February, but then COVID, you know, that kind of just went down the drain for a little while, but we're going to revive it. I was beyond disappointed. Then I got into a little depression mode. But then I also had shoulder surgery, so the yoga went out of the door completely. But he helped me cope. He helped me cope because he knows what that yoga does for me mentally and emotionally and spiritually. He's there to help me deal with my imbalances. It all comes back to you and me, balancing.
Of course.
Also, I will be opening a yoga studio in the future. So I'm always planning for it and sharing my ideas and super excited. He is so excited for me. He gets it. In his photography, absolutely. I do whatever I can to get him taking photos, going on different trips, you know.
And you actually work on shoots with me.
Yeah, I style them, you know. And I edit the before. Like usually I'll pick something. I don't know. I went to art school. Doesn't mean that I'm an artist. It doesn't mean that I'm a know-it-all. I'm not Monet. That's my dog. But Claude Monet, the artiste. So I enjoy it very much and I help him and I do as much as I can to be of service to his passion. It's really big. So those are the three things that we did in the beginning that I could think of anyway. Now we're going to cover 7 different ways of how to create balance in your relationship. So another question coming up. How do you know if your relationship is working? Like, really think about it. Really think. When do you and yours feel the best? Absolute best. Like the perfect day, the perfect moment, whatever is perfect for you. Is it on vacation? Is it spending time together, alone together, or with other people? Is it when your partner is growing and you're also making moves? What does working look like for you? Think about it. If you don't know what it is yet, come up with an answer so you know.
And it can be all of the above as well.
Yeah, you can have 17 different things. But think of like if they all have something in common, what is that thing that they all have in common? What is it? When things are going well, you should feel grounded and balanced. When we are balanced, we're both giving and taking while also morphing and changing along the way. Personally, I've evolved so much since Nathaniel came into my life. So much. There's so many things that have changed and evolved. I'm a different person. I'm a different woman. I finished the 200-hour yoga teacher training at In Bloom Yoga in New Hartford. They're my family and I love them. And I'm so freaking grateful that I got to do it there.
It's an amazing crew.
It is. If you're in the New Hartford area, or even if you're in Syracuse, or even if you're in New York City, or even if you're in California, come to New Hartford and go. Seriously, it changed my life. I did my 200-hour teacher training there. Colleen offered me to teach a class Sunday morning. It changed my life. I could cry. It changed my life. While we were together, I gained some more independence. I moved into a personal space for me to live. I moved into Jeffrey's old apartment, and I'm so grateful for him because he offered to talk to his landlord for me and whatever. I know I'm plugging all these people, and I wasn't even going to. That's not in the script. I also realized that we're so bad for each other. I'm destructive, and it's a not you, it's a me type of relationship.
I mean, with alcoholism and things like that, I just so happen to have my own history with alcoholism. And so as you've come into your own about it and all of that, it's been just another example of finding balance and being able to, go through. I mean, a lot of mistakes were made, but it's at the end of the day, it's worth the work. It's worth, and then watching you change has been one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just saying.
No, thank you. But that's changed. That's evolved. I started seeing a shaman who is an amazing addition to my life. She has done amazing things with me, the energy work. And I also fell in love since he came back into my life. And now I've moved to a different state in a different city. And I mean, the list can go on and on and on.
Pennsylvania of all states too.
Come on. I never in a million years thought I'd be in this state living on purpose. Mm-hmm. But it freaking happened, people. Keep your heart and eyes open for the most craziest, insane things that could happen. But that's another episode. So while I've been evolving and morphing, what have you done alongside me, do you think?
Well,
mind you, this is taking a lot of work to balance everything out. He's changing and I'm changing, and we're like, whoa.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my biggest thing is recognizing my mental illness and what what the triggers are, when episodes are occurring, being able to recognize when it's paranoia and not really instead of thinking it's a reasonable question about whether it's, you or anything else in my life.
Right.
So a lot of my growing has been, dealing with that. And I've only had that diagnosis for a few years now. So, but I've done more in the past time that we've been together than I ever have, so it's been
it's wonderful to see too.
I've been very fortunate to have you at my side because you didn't have to go through all of that, and so
you didn't have to go through everything with me either, but that's the thing, guys. You will know if it's worth it.
Right.
You'll know.
If
you don't know, figure it out, because you don't want to waste anyone's time. You don't want to waste your own energy.
And you will feel when you start to feel that balance, when you start to sense that balance, you'll really know. And then you'll just start working toward it. You'll start understanding it. It's really an amazing thing.
Yeah. I mean, these, everyone that's listening, I know you've experienced this before. It's a wonderful feeling. I'm going to quote another human being, Gianni Adamo, counselor and certified relationship coach at Fearless Love. This person says long-term relationships will change you, either for better or for worse. Love has the power to transform us, so hopefully we have chosen well and picked a partner that can grow with us. Their friends and family become our friends and family, and vice versa. Their debts or assets will either take or give to our relationship. Their ability to support, listen to, and cherish us will be wind in our sail. But if they tend to criticize, invalidate, and can't hear you, this will take from you. So now we're going to dive a little bit more into pitching in. And, well, you'll see. In our relationship, we affect each other so deeply, so we both need to be contributing and receiving the same amount of energy and support. So think about that. One-sided relationships aren't healthy. I know that's another duh statement. I get it, but I just have to say it because I've been in one-sided relationships on both sides where I've given myself until I was depleted and I got physically sick, running on empty, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Or I've soaked up someone else's energy because I was not mentally or emotionally ready for a relationship. I thought I was. I thought I wanted a serious partner.
That's basically my 22 years of relationships. Like until that was me. I was never on the other side of that. So
I've been on both sides and both sides suck.
Yeah, I could imagine. I
was a lot younger then, but I was a big taker. I was a huge taker. If you've ever seen the movie Taker with Idris Elba, that was me with emotions. It feels like a lifetime ago I displayed this selfish behavior. I took so much from this person and gave only pieces of myself in return. So you think like, do you love this person if you're one taking it? You're not loving very well if you're on that one side. I forgave myself since then. It's been many years, so I don't really beat myself up anymore. But, considering my mind frame at the time, take a look at your mind frame if you feel like you're on one side or the other. Decide if it's worth it, if it's good, for you or for the other person. How much I thought I knew about love and balance back then. It was a huge flop, though. You might be feeling floppy now. I never in a million years thought I'd be writing for a personal podcast about relationships, of all things. Never, ever, ever.
What about me?
I don't know. You're not. So in honor of creating balance.
I forgot to unmute.
You first have to, good thing he was yelling, y'all could hear him. So in honor of creating balance, you first have to find honesty. Honesty is the basis of pretty much everything that we speak about. Honesty can be very difficult. I understand how hard it can be.
Well, I just want to add to that real quick. With honesty, it's one of those things where it's not just this, it's just the foundation or a piece of the foundation. It's like taking the roots of a tree. I mean, they'll grow through different types of soil. They'll grow through rocks and concrete and stuff like that. So trust, honesty, well, not trust, but yeah, trust. Honesty, it goes everywhere. It's in everything. It's in every part of your relationship. And so it is such a significant thing to discuss and understand. And yes. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Nathaniel. So the first of 7 things is to communicate. The first step for us is, we've touched on this a ton already. I mean, obviously in love and vulnerability, but communicating, this is what Lauren Irish has said. She's a relationship coach at Maze of Love. Communicate. This involves both speaking and listening. Without open lines of two-way communication, the relationship will be out of balance because only one person is really being heard and considered. Have you been the one heard or the one just speaking the entire time? Be honest. I agree with her here especially too. The whole point of a relationship is to co-create an environment where both people complement each other. If each person isn't contributing or isn't able to contribute, the relationship will likely be one-sided. And we can communicate at any time of day. without regarding where we are, who's around. We definitely have filters in some cases, like in public or around family, but you better believe we will hash it out when we are alone, without a doubt.
And if you don't hash it out when you're alone and you bottle it up, I mean, that goes further into what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's way worse. And by hashing it out, I don't always I don't mean argue.
Right. It doesn't have to be a blowout fight.
Right. We can hash out an amazing idea for a personal thing as well.
Right.
Because I want to know what he thinks and I have to be heard. Number 2 is to accept disagreement. You're like, I don't wanna. Having a balanced relationship means not always agreeing on things. We teach each other a lot by sharing our difference in opinions. Can this be frustrating? Again, yes, I understand. It's frustrating. We all want to be heard concerning our point of view, but even more, we as human beings have a very strong need to be right all the time. Nathaniel and I agree on the bigger topics like the deeper humanity issues, politics, outlooks on religion, family dynamics, how to love. But one thing that comes to mind concerning disagreements is how to coexist with each other in a living space. This I wrote back then. Things have gotten much better now, but it was a great example. It was a great example to use. So I kept it. It has been a push and pull. I need clear spaces and open areas to feel sane. Like the anxiety goes crazy. So clutter or extra bits of things hanging around, it really isn't good for me. And I get uncomfortable and kind of, like I'm tense. I think now it's different a little bit. I have changed a little bit in that way. But before it was like, is it usable and does it add to our lives or is it collecting dust? That was it. And don't get me wrong, I have my own things. I totally have my own things. Personal items from my father's existence. I have those things in my space, gifts from family and friends displayed. But mostly you'll find books, photos, yoga equipment, and now I have my dream catcher stuff because I like to create dream catchers. I also only had one very small closet in my apartment. So that was a whole nother issue. Oh my God. But I have a collection of footwear, accessories, jewelry, and clothing from years of working in retail and being a fashion lover. This collection is kind of different from Nathaniel's collections, but not really.
Yeah, they're just different things, but they're this, it's...
Because I have clothes that I haven't worn in a long time. Nathaniel has things he hasn't used in a long time in his house. But other than that, his collections are based on gaming and photography and mementos from his grandfather. So it's not really that different. I used to think it was, but it's not. It's not, but it used to really bother me. In my mind, he's had a lot of things that he hasn't used, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Our outlooks are different at the core, but we both have our things. It's the same. There's emotional attachment involved, and we let ourselves get deeper into the why those things are important. Just like the next portion, we found our unique balance here. Here's another quote by Irish. She says, be willing to disagree. A balanced relationship isn't conflict-free. Conflict can help and add more balance through getting bottled emotions out in the open, or it can act as a venue for sharing different perspectives. The key to disagreeing effectively is to not attack the other person and maintain respect on both sides. It's key. So what I took from that is to make room to disagree, try to understand each other's point of view, and debate with respect. You don't need to be the same person by any means. You just need to hear each other out. Number 3 is to find your own unique balance. Now, this is going to be really fun, something to do if you already know what keeps you balanced and you're doing your damn thing and you feel good and you're just like cruising along life so happy and so free and so balanced. This is going to sound repetitive to you, but think about like not every relationship is going to be balanced in the same way. So Irish says, know what balance looks like in your relationship. Every relationship is unique and we'll all have different points of balance. So take time to figure out what's important to you and where you're willing to compromise. If you stay true to your values, you'll find a balance that works for you. It's not going to look like another person's relationship, and that's okay. Our unique balance is full of give and take, but we both accept responsibility for ourselves. We don't abuse each other in any way whatsoever. We make time for each other's important things. We just do our best. There's no telling what's in store, but our formula works for us. It does. Number 4 is to be authentically you. Now, if your relationship is going to have balance, I'm sorry, but you both need to be authentic. Gotta be. Anytime you are not authentically yourself, it's a sign that you are not comfortable in the relationship. That's someone else's quote. It is therapist Amy Harstein. She said, if you're hiding things, embarrassed about things, faking things, it suggests that you don't feel that your partner will truly like you for yourself. That sucks. It does. I've been there. Being authentic shows that you feel supported in the relationship, and your partner should feel be able to do the same.
I mean, we had a unique situation for ourselves by being 100%, not 100%. Wow, that's way too much. By being upfront in the beginning.
Don't lie about it.
When we first started talking again,
right.
From seeing each other or being friends when we were teens. I was upfront with you about my mental illness. You were upfront with me about your own situation. Yeah. And, there were obviously things that we didn't discuss on that first conversation or even in the first, days and weeks and months, but that stuff comes out. And as long as you feel like you can continue to let those things out, even if it's little by little.
Yeah. I mean, again, check yourself.
Exactly.
Check yourself. Are you hiding things? Are you kind of doing a bait and switch with your words because you don't think that you could say or be or do a certain thing? That's probably a red flag, and you don't have to do anything about it. I'm not telling you what to do by any means. I'm just, I want you to take a look and take a listen to yourself while you're doing it. Because I'm a total weirdo. I mean, I am. I talk to myself, and I talk to the food in the grocery store. I make weird motions when I lotion my body.
I love that.
I used to fall asleep to horror movies.
Mm-hmm. You'd wake up and be like, I don't know why I didn't get much sleep last night.
Why did I have a nightmare? He's like, you fell asleep to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I was like, that's not why.
When I found that out, it was one of the funniest things I've ever learned about a human being.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I also speak in a funny way. Like sometimes things are backwards or mispronounced. I talk out of the side of my mouth a lot. These things that I just know about myself that are me. I am 100% me. It wasn't always this way. I'm really still working on it. It's really hard to let down everything and be authentically myself. But I figure I'm wasting our time if I'm not being myself because we don't have balance, people. We don't have balance.
And I mean, for the absolute most part, I adore all of these.
That's because he's also a weirdo.
Yeah.
So well, yeah. That's why. Also when I cook, I sing and dance and shake my ass and really dance while I cook. Sometimes I forget that I'm cooking. But I didn't start doing that at the beginning. I didn't show him that part at the beginning. I could have, but I didn't. Some things just come out in their own time. But this is why it's important to do that, because I can share my worries and concerns and my stresses, even if they are illogical. I'm open to do that. Number 5, consult and consider each other. You might not always do what the other one wants, but having a balanced relationship means taking them into consideration. I know it's still more work. If your partner regularly makes relationship decisions without consulting you or incorporating your needs, desires, and preferences into the decision-making process, they care more about getting their own way than they do about creating harmony in a relationship. This is from Adam Maynard, a relationship coach who specializes in helping people navigate relationship challenges. He also says they also hold more of the power because their needs are regularly being prioritized. If only one of you is thinking about the other, there's no balance.
I just wanted to mention that, I mean, this is such a good point, and it could be very little things. It could be like, it's almost like it could even be a grooming process by always getting your way. But it starts with these small little things, making the person feel guilty, making the person, just, oh, you don't care about me. And
just manipulation.
Yes.
Man, it's like you said, it's grooming. It's, in a sense, you're kind of altering that person's thought process just because they want to please you. And that's, in a sense, that's brainwashing in a way, a small way or maybe a big way, depending on. But if you're not considered in the relationship and you're not considering the other person, check yourself before you wreck yourself. No, sorry. So in this, I can make a decision within a couple of seconds on just about everything. At this point in the game, I know myself and I trust myself for the most part to do so. I do wait on big purchases. I do take time for that. But, I usually choose what's best for, if we're deciding together what's best for both of us. It's only because I've learned so much about Nathaniel. If he's indecisive about something, and that happens a lot, I will think, okay, what's going to make him smile? What is going to agitate him? What does he love to eat and do? If he truly does not care either way, one or the other, we could rock, paper, scissor it, whatever. But it has to be a balance. But decisions need to be made, people. Like, they don't make themselves. You got to decide. And if you're not, you're just sitting in limbo.
Well, it's funny because, one thing that has crossed my life through all of my terrible decisions and my mental illnesses and my addictions is that my indecisiveness. That's still
stuck there. That's a Libra quality, actually.
Yeah,
it really is.
I one of the things, with that too, is that it just kind of, as a kid, maybe I was just too sensitive. As a kid, I just felt like I could never, my decision was never the right one.
I remember you saying that before.
And it always felt like, it was second best. You know what I mean? So again, I don't know if that was just
something that you just perceived, or that could be the actual honest to God truth, because you got to think about it. Emotions aren't facts. And you can change that about yourself if you want to. And he's more decisive about things while still being indecisive. Mm-hmm. Number 6 brings us to be independent. Having a balanced relationship isn't just about balance between the two of you. It's about having balance between your relationship and the rest of your life. You should have a life outside of your relationship. Jaleesa Tucker is a content coordinator at One Love. It's a foundation dedicated to teaching young people about healthy and unhealthy relationships. And she says it's incredibly important for both partners to maintain a sense of independence outside of their relationship. By engaging in activities independent of each other, couples are better able to maintain their sense of self and then bring diverse experiences to their relationship. Super key. Have you ever seen a dog that looks exactly like it's human? Or couples you start to look like siblings?
You do not look like Dodger. I'm just going to say that. You do not.
Dodger's on our IG page if you want to look at him.
Maybe in the video, I'll just pop him in there.
That would be wonderful. We have so many fun things coming up.
I love that
Dodger's face where my face is. Aww. But I was saying, couples who start to look like siblings rather than lovers, sometimes it's inherently going to happen. It's just nature. But if your person only does what you do, that is pretty boring, yeah? Where's your own life begin and the relationship begin or end? Where are your passions and your goals and your friendships? Now, I love having alone time, probably because I'm an only child and it's a very comfortable place for me to be in. I love peace and quiet so I can calm my mind. I love working in my yoga classes, doing the yoga, reading a good book, creating a dream catcher, taking a walk, just getting just straighten it out and breathing. It feels so good. But I also like to do those things with Nathaniel in the room, but they're my things that he doesn't have to like or even want to do. Those are my own things. He can join if, but it's not a necessity for him to be there. It's not like, I can play solitaire. I don't have to play rummy.
Whoa. That was totally a dad comment. Wow.
I just made that up. Noom, you'll appreciate that one too.
Yes.
This can be tricky, balancing your free time between your partner and yourself. But think about it. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Trust me, that is true. It does. I know this from being in a long distance relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So get out there, do your own thing. Don't be afraid. More than that, like I wouldn't be into playing a video game as an adult and finding out that I love it unless Nathaniel was still playing video games. I wouldn't be so involved in photography without Nathaniel's passion for it. I doubt I'd be looking for vintage acoustic guitars if Nathaniel didn't like that stuff. If he wasn't sharing with me, I'd be missing out on a lot.
You know, there's the game, the only game you play, and you show me, you know, that when you win and everything, and it's fun, it's exciting. But I would never be into a fashion game. I would never be into, you know, any of that stuff. But because you enjoy it, and I see the joy that you get from it, I'm getting joy from it, and it's exciting for me when you get those high scores, you know?
Yeah, I freak out. I jump up and down. I shake my phone. I go,
It's really funny.
4.62.
And now you have my 4 and 7 year olds playing it too.
Yep, they play. And they would never know that, you know, what's in fashion and what's not if it wasn't for this game.
Because that's so critical to them right now.
Yes, they need to know. They need to know these things. So, you know, in a nutshell, it's very important for you to have your independence still, because being unique is sexy, and we all love to be sexy. Number 7 is taking space when you need it. Taking space when you need it. Being in a balanced relationship doesn't mean your relationship is always going to feel perfect. Obviously, I know it's so obvious. Obviously, it's not going to feel perfect all the time. There may be times when you need to take a bit of space and when you're not feeling 100%, like that over the moon feeling for your partner. Over the full moon. Tonight's a full moon.
Oh, there it is again.
But that's okay. That's okay. Riding that ebb and flow of a relationship is part of maintaining balance. So personally, I found this part to be extremely helpful. Accepting your feelings as well as your partner's feelings is the key to a respectful relationship. Do I love him? Of course I love him. Do I always like him? I don't think it's possible to like your person 100% of the time, or like the things that they do.
Yeah, that's
like the things that they do more. Yeah, now I'm saying it out loud. It's more liking the things that you do, that the person does.
Right.
You won't always like everything your person says or does.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah, it's
majorly unrealistic.
Again, expectations, resentments.
Right. Like I adore you. I adore so much about you on such a major level. But of course, there are going to be little quirks here and there that are going to pop up. And it's
so when your person does those things, like maybe you need some space, because it wouldn't be authentic if I said I didn't have my shit, my quirks, like you said. There are times I'm feeling disconnected with my own self. So connecting to him wouldn't be organic. There are times when I need a bit of space. Again, I tell him when I need a moment or time for me before I can talk about whatever it is or talk in general. Figuring out how and what to even say might now come, and that might not come until later on, because I don't even know what's what. I have to figure things out in my head. Take your space. It's okay. Let your person take their space. They're not moving. They just need to move their legs maybe and get some shit figured out, you know? Like water, relationships flow. So there's movement and there's waterfalls and there's stagnant. There are bends and turns, and sometimes things get really slow, or sometimes things turn into ice and they melt. But I love that about us. We are balancing for each other as much as for ourselves. It's not always been so cookie cutter.
No.
And it's not cookie cutter at all.
No, we are not cookie cutter.
No, not at all.
One of the things that's really funny is, you know, it's like we've brought this up before, and I don't remember when, but that, you know, did we have an unfair advantage because we knew each other in the past? Yeah. I don't think so. Because, I mean, think about how much different we were as teenagers.
Well, I think I could... I don't know how to really say it.
I do remember
like I know this
only
guy.
Great memories with you. That's the one thing. So I guess that isn't an advantage.
It is, because if you think about it, like if this was a Hallmark show or Lifetime where you end up being a serial killer, it would be very obvious that she trusted him more because she knew him in the past, and then, you know, things just got out of hand, and she still trusted that he was the same old Nathaniel, and he's not. He's a serial killer, and it's like it would make sense.
Of course, you go with a serial killer killer.
I love it so much. I can't help it.
Oh my.
Anyway, we may have had an unfair advantage, but now we do not. We are just straight in line with where we should be.
And we work our asses off, you know, I mean, and it's worthwhile every single step of the way because you are seeking balance. I am seeking balance. We are seeking balance together. And that makes it a lot more fun. It makes the hard work so much more worth it.
Right. And it's not always fun.
No.
I mean, there are times when I don't even want to say the words, you know, because I don't want to curse a lot. But there are times when I'm just very unwell with things, you know, a little verklempt, a little overwhelmed. You know, there are times that happens, but I have to take time for myself. That's when I know I need to take time for myself. I can't be expected to always be right on the money, and neither can he. Well,
I want to mention that, you know, it wasn't just long distance. It was work for us. You know, we discussed at the very beginning of this episode that there were real obstacles. There were real challenges because because of the way our brains worked at that time.
Right.
You know, I mean, but that's where it comes down to, we knew that the work was going to be worthwhile. That's why we didn't go anywhere, why we didn't leave, because that you are my person. That's just, we knew that. And, you know, whether we knew it at the top of our brain or it was subconscious, I don't know, but you know, that's just how we worked.
Right.
And still work.
Exactly. So to conclude, take a minute to reflect on yourself and your partner, or if you're single, your own balance. Do you treat yourself with that same kindness and respect you would if you were partnered up? What is the relationship that you have with yourself? My stomach just growled. I'm sorry if y'all heard that. A balanced relationship is a healthy relationship. It's about being equal partners and making sure that you're both feeling comfortable and supported. But it's also about making sure there's independence. The trick is to keep checking in. Like I said before, check yourself, and communicate. That way you can fix any issues or tensions that come up before they throw the balance off. You can be proactive a little bit more as you grow in your relationship, because maintenance is key. It is everything, people. Maintenance.
Or like I like to call maintenance.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, we will end with that last dad joke. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something from it. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you're smiling. I hope you don't feel worse. If you have anything you would like to say, please give us feedback. You can do so on any of our platforms. Social media is the easiest way for us to get it because it's right at my palm.
And just listen to the end of the episode and we will tell you all of
Exactly. I just want to say to the people who've already been listening, we really appreciate you so much, more than you can probably imagine. And at this point in the game, I already feel like I felt comfortable, but now I feel like I'm talking to friends. I'm just speaking to people that I love and that I know already. So thanks for making it easier for us.
Absolutely. And to everybody that we don't know that's out there, it's just pretty incredible that you're willing to listen to us. And,
it is very incredible.
And hear our story and just have fun with us.
Yeah. So give us some feedback. We always take constructive criticism. Please don't be judgy. Or if you need to be judgy, be judgy. I don't give a shit.
It's the internet.
I'll take it or leave it. So that's it. Have a beautiful week. I hope you enjoyed your full moon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Please be safe. Be safe. Keep yourself safe and your people safe. Because I want to talk to you next week.
Yes.
Take care.
Balanced relationships start with balanced individuals, or at least individuals willing to seek balance. Just make sure the work is worth it. And we think it will be for the right people. We thank you for your love and support. Did you like today's episode? Subscribe to us on Spotify or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to follow us at Lovin' a Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and facebook.com/lovinapodcast. Learn more about us on our website, lovinapodcast.com. Until next week, my friends,